Good day, critters. My name is David. This is Mana and Maple, and I am bringing you the lore video today. The lore video is not actually a synopsis nor an update on the storyline specifically. My lore update is actually an update to a document that I'm doing a passion project on. And what that means is I'm watching the stream multiple times just so I can pick up all the little details inside there. And because of that, a lot of this relies on not just me noticing it, but also you guys, everybody out there who's watching this video, who saw the entirety of the stream. This is really meant for us to kind of build a community around the idea that we're going to go ahead and get every little bit of lore that we can at all. From the names and the places to the districts that they're in to geographic locations. And I'm starting to pick up on stuff like personalized histories between characters. With that being said, the first thing I want to do is I want to thank my Patreon subscribers. I just got Steven. Steven, thank you so much for being a Patreon subscriber. I appreciate all the support. And yeah, let's get into it. Ooh, lost my pointer. This is, as I said, a labor of lore. I have a lot of different tabs up on this overall. My appreciation page has really grown. I picked up these three have added a lot of good comments, talking points, engaging conversations inside my my comment section of my videos. And I want to say I really appreciate the fact that you guys are doing this specifically. Thank you for being there. We picked up a new-ish place down in the fray. We picked up Potter's Field, which is a rundown tavern with a dirty interior. And we also picked up Speak No Evil. Speak No Evil is a hidden den of fiendish leisure. And creepy stuff is happening inside there. This is all part of the cold open with Bolaire. We learned a lot of really interesting things about Bolaire this time around. And I don't want to say that this is mostly focused on him because there was a lot happening in here. But with over 3 hours of this entire episode being combat, we learned a lot about one person in particular, that's Bolaire, and we learned about a smattering of things inside the combat itself. We actually learned a lot about death in this game, not just because of what happened in the combat, but because of what was seen because of the combat. Very interesting things. Outside of Domakiar, we know somewhere out there are the Barrowdales, somewhere out there, but I'm not entirely sure where they are at this moment in time. Our Sundered Houses, Taconis, really went off on a tear here. They through Primus himself and Ethrin, what I've done is I've actually created what I want to say is a notable villains tab. So you can see right down here, notable villains. And notable villains are those that make major moves against the players. So far, these are just NPC villains that have stepped out of preserving power and wealth like the Halavars and are being incredibly aggressive across the face of Ahriman like the Taconises. And so we have orchestrating the downfall of House Royce, Primus Taconis, and Ethrin Taconis. These guys are going to be a problem later on. I can almost guarantee it. But at this moment in time, they're not. So I've been doing a little bit of light reorganization of this document, and that is because it is a living document. I'm always working on it. I'm always looking at it and always improving it. And you can too if you join my Discord. That being said, the biggest difference that we have right now, House Royce is pretty much gone in the city of Domakiar. So we know that they've been destroyed. And the Palacio Divinos has been completely, not eradicated, but essentially fumigated of all the living things. And what that means is for Lady Aranessa and for Julian specifically, they are without home. And that can be really tricky to deal with. And in this regard, Lady Aranessa is the only one that we know of House Royce, of that particular attack that escaped from that particular happenstance. That's a lot of death, a lot of things happening there. Let's see. In Davinos, we learned that House Davinos was raided by the Taconis with the intention of wiping them out. My guess is this is directly connected to Diazi Fang and the things that he did in the Falconers Rebellion, because House Davinos, it's a guess, but Ramon Davinos did not actually help House Taconis. He either stayed neutral or helped the rebellion, and House Taconis took that personally. Inside here also, we know that we learned a new location, actually, up in... a little disjointed because things... we also learned in Mirzash, the Loy estate. It's a single-story estate that spills over a gentle decline built into the side of a hill. It has a Spanish colonial vibe. The trees are ironwood trees with a fiery ginkgo foliage. Large boulders grace the grounds with raw veins and metal ore in them, which I think is a really cool detail. We met a Cormorant, actually, and I have her down in NPCs. We met Lady Amiria Cormorant, who was assigned by the Revolutionary Council Chamber of Lords Advisory to do a review of the Pariah Blades. That can only spell anxiety and ill feelings in Bolaire specifically, as that organization starts to really start putting their fingers into everything else. I added the name Dantonia. Dantonia is with the Halivars. Specifically, Yanessa wants them to be married with Wick. I do want to say real quick, because Wick wasn't in this episode, we learned nothing new about the Halivars. Because Wick and Tierney and Tayor and Thimble and Cadigan are all off in the soldiers' table, we are going to know less and less about the houses that they were connected to in the city and only see broader strokes that affect the world from them. And that'll put a light damper on all the lore that we've gotten on them specifically. I added the Totality, which is mentioned in an offhand comment, which is a religious organization, one with clerics. The Totality seems to be the modern-day clerics grappling with where the undeath is, where the afterlife is after the death of the gods. And then I have the Barrow Guards. The Barrow Guards, we learned, were trained by Julian, and Alagar is a member of this and was seen in a vision by Octus upon returning to the land of the living through the Stone of Nightsong. The Stone of Nightsong was very heavily in this episode, and we learned a lot about it and maybe its residual powers as well. In here, I didn't really add anything to anyone else. I didn't add anything to there. Most of that is not going anywhere. Inside player characters, we have Taisha Loy. Something that occurred to me a little bit earlier, and I think I want to switch into this. I don't know why we as a collective have been grasping at straws for Taisha Loy to be a known circle of blank in the SRD or the 2024 rule set. I think Taisha is actually one of the other homebrews because I believe her circle is a circle of the old path, which would be an in-game orc-centric circle that we will learn more of throughout this. That is the most exciting part of this, because I think that if that's true, the circle of the old path would be particular to this world specifically. And being particular to this world specifically, we would, without thinking in this direction, never have guessed it. Never. Let's go back into this. We also learned that she has a shape of a staff of the Loy, which she can expend 3 charges to speak with metal, and if that's not metal, I don't know what is. Overall, Taisha had a rough time in this episode, seeing death around her, and really, if you haven't watched it, she goes through some things in this episode. Halandale Fang, has really come up and has become more involved in everything. And I didn't put anything into Halandale Fang specifically because I started to break off and talk about relationships instead and history instead, to just have that in a different space. So we still don't know what the subclass of Hal is. We still don't know what that Liar's Blade does. There wasn't a lot of combat on his side. On his side of the table, there was a lot of insight checks. There was a lot of arcana. There was a lot of perception. Using a lot of what I'm going to call seeker skills specifically, or it could be schemer skills specifically. We don't really know at this moment in time. Next up, we have Bolaire. Now, Bolaire, we had a lot of wrong thoughts about. Bolaire, as you can see, I've crossed off a bunch of it because it's all wrong. This is gigantic spoilers, and if you don't want to know it, stop watching. Bolaire is this mask right here. This mask right here, that's Bolaire. Bolaire is a mask specifically, and not the person underneath it, which is the wildest darn thing that I have ever seen. And Taliesin has really done a lot to raise the bar on how to make an outside-of-the-box character. He was created during the Shapers' War and introduced a different set of artifacts into our lexicon, which are known as the Panto. The Panto are masks created by the halflings to put on a play designed to kill the god of trickery. What an amazing... I want to know more. I want to know so much more. I want to pull that up into here. That is a level of world building that I think that we should all take note of. What if a sentient magical item or artifact gained true sentience and retained his memory or its memory between users? That is adds a lot of depth to any magical or artifact level items that we would ever put into our games, and we can learn something from the way that Brennan handled both Bolaire and the way that Brennan handled, to a certain extent, Octus as character ideas back when they first came up with this. Super interesting. If you want to know more about that, watch the cooldown if you've got access to it. And if you don't, Beacon for me is kind of worth it just for the cooldowns and the fact that when they have this show up on Beacon specifically, there are chapter breaks. So you know how long everything is. So if you want to go back and watch something specifically, you don't have to search for specific spots within that like YouTube video like you would with one of mine. You can just go, oh, I want to know more about the Rookery. Click on that, and you'll actually be inside that section because they've been really nice and labeled it. Also, I really rely on Beacon specifically for what I do because their subtitles are always spelled correctly. Unlike YouTube, where the subtitles are generated, I think through AI, Beacon subtitles are correct to how they would be inside the world lore, so I know that my spelling is correct too. Anyway, that's a lot of higgledy back on this. We're gonna step back into the video. Bolaire has been the curator of the Loy Wing for about 8 years, and he was. This is the curious one for me. Bolaire was blackmailed by Thiazi because Thiazi somehow figured out that he was just a mask and was told to do some nefarious kind of back alley magical jobs or he would tear his entire life apart, which really shook Bolaire. Now, do we ever know if that's the truth? I'm not sure at this point in time, but That was such a convincing lie, if it was a lie, that I'm inclined to believe that Bolaire really felt all those things, all that passion, all that regret. Murray, the thing I learned about Murray today, and everyone learned about Murray this time around, is Murray is a School of Divination wizard. So anyone who guessed that before this entire game started up, myself included, kudos, we got that correct. Good job, everybody who guessed on that. And if not, you know what? You probably got other things right. No big deal. Murray has a lot of fun things to say, but my favorite one from this episode is we're going hunting in its bastard season, which is so good. It's so good. And for Murray, magic is pure math, which I think is fascinating. To have the language of the universe be the thing that you cast magic through is an interesting idea for someone who is divination, who deals in astronomy and the planets moving. The idea that Murray specifically doesn't believe in kismet or luck or destiny, it is all mathematically, this is what is meant to happen mathematically, is a new level of like almost like arithmancy or anything along those lines. We, as a side note, and I didn't know where to put this in the document, I'm noticing that we're learning a lot about a concept from 3.5, which was true magic, which was a type of magical system where you learned specific words, which were the true names of specific things. We saw that specifically with Azune. Instead of mending and casting a spell for mending, because he's a sorcerer, and that spell comes from his sorcerer origin, he just knows the word in an ancient language of remember. And remember causes something to heal itself as it remembers what it was. That is a level of creation style magic that D&D hasn't touched on for like decades. It's been a long time since 3.5. And to have that kind of come up in here, that's rad. That's real cool. And I'm not sure we understand how absolutely game-changing that is for magical systems overall, where you don't need to be a studied avant at things. You can look at people like Hal as a bard who are using single words to cast entire spells that reverberate to people to their core. Very interesting magical style, and I'm here for it. I just don't know where to put it in the document, because I think that is its own subsection. Octus. This is gigantic spoilers too. In episode 4, Octus died in like the first hour and a half or hour, somewhere inside there. He had multiple visions and a very fun journey through death, which really saw. Oh, I'm not even on the right screen. Let's go to the right screen. Octus, Etherin tried to replace his heart with the Stone of Night Song and was mostly successful. Sees visions of other men and branching paths through a forest and experiences an afterlife in a way that I didn't think we were gonna get to see in a world without gods. And eventually undoes himself. Excuse me. At the very end of episode 4, Octus comes back through a very mended, a magically mended, well, how do you want to say this? A Stone of Night Song, where a really high DC medicine check and a natural 20 took something that no one realized was broken and mended it to where it works as a holy artifact again. And that holy artifact brought Octus back from the dead. Now, in bringing him back from the dead, we know, and if you watch the cooldown, you would know that Octus is now a hollow one. That is rough. But he had a beautiful vision. I touch on the vision elsewhere because that vision is going to lead, in my opinion, is going to lead one of the tables down a very specific path. We have Valus. Valus has been using Divine Smites. Valus had a really rough time in this episode. She knows a lot about the undead and the shades in the world, but overall, Valus, well, actually just rolled bad. And that's okay, because Valus also tanked a ton of damage. A ton of damage. And I'm seeing the beauty inside that specifically. Where she can just stand up in front and just take damage. Where, and we'll get to him in a little bit, but Julian was a monster this game. Yeah, I'm gonna get rid of this. No one cares about this. At some point in time, I think we're seeing right now, and I don't know how to put this into here either. But his knowledge, Azune's knowledge about spellcasting and how much he doesn't know about spellcasting really leads me to believe that as a storm sorcerer, and I know that he's a storm sorcerer, I think Azune is a distant relative to a storm giant, a creature that carved the world and created clouds and died to the Shapers. I think that is totally plausible, especially when he knows primordial words of creation and myth that remember causes something to regrow itself to where it was. Fascinating. Sir Julian Davenos. We learned a lot about the way that Julian's build works. And if you watched my theory video on this, I'm seeing it play out in front of me, and I'm excited. Julian's build revolves around attacking with his rapier to give advantage to his next attack, and using his bonus action to do an offhand attack with his demi-gauntlet that gets sneak attack on top of it. That is a 1-2 build, and when he gets more attacks, that'll be a 1-2 build that really builds upon itself in a larger way, but he is definitely a isolate a target, kill a target, isolate a target, kill a target, and I'm excited to see where that goes. This game, Julian was able to grab the demi-gauntlet from his father, and I wonder if that is an upgrade for him, or if that's magical in some sort of way. I don't really know at this point in time, but I kind of hope it is. This was awesome to see, but Julian saw his father killed by Lord Primus Taconis, and in a mindless rage just followed that guy, and Julian gained another one of these permanent bonuses from Brennan. This is another one of those things that as a DM I love, and any other DMs that are out there, this is a cool thing that you can add to your players, especially if you run tough encounters like this, where you can give permanent bonuses to your players because they do cool shit, because they do have natural 20s when it matters most. Giving Julian, when he's at half health, giving Julian advantage on all attacks against Lord Primus Taconis for forever means that Julian has picked up a nemesis. And that nemesis is someone who Julian will have a vendetta against. And I'm excited for how that shapes him as a character. We'll close up player characters. Oh, come on, we'll close up. Thiazi Fang, we learned a few things about him, but the big thing is that both Hal and Bolaire said that Thiazi could be kind of a jerk, an a-hole, a troublemaker, and was blackmailing Bolaire. Not a good look. I already talked about Lady Amaria Cormoré. And we'll get to that as well. We have some new NPCs. Abra Strime is a man of illicit goods down inside the Speak No Evil and is the current body of Bolaire. Tamade Wernst as a rotund man in regal clothes and a benefactor of the museum, and who came in with the lady from Cormoré near the end of the episode. And then we also met Rohar, which is an attendant to the Loy Estate. And the Loy Estate, most of them we learned, like I've kind of already known or guessed, that most of the Loys went off to Dolrongya, and a few of them stayed behind to tend the estate itself, which I think is really, really cool. There really isn't an update to I want to be in, sorry, I know my own document. There really isn't an update, so to speak, inside Soldiers, Seekers, and Schemers, because we didn't learn anything else about any of the other tables this game, which means that at the end of the Soldiers arc, when we come back to Domakyar for the rest of the group, they will split up into their tables at that moment in time. So anyone who wanted to know what that's going to be, we have probably another month and a half, 2 months maybe, to understand what's going on with that. And I mean, that will take a lot of time. Our notable villains, this will expand as the game goes on, where we begin to show more, not just NPCs who inhabit the world, but people who are actively working against the party. And I said this before, but I'll say it again. There's a big difference in my mind. There is a big difference in my mind between Yanessa Halavar, who is attempting to trade power and souls and filament for power and prestige. There's a big difference for me in that regard. She's not nice. She's not a good person, but she is not a primary villain. I don't know if we're going to have a primary villain out of that, or a notable villain out of House Halavar. But House Taconis moved against an entire house, obliterated that house, killed them in the night, and murdered one of his own kids. Primus Taconis, not a good guy. Etherin Taconis, I think the most interesting thing about Etherin this entire episode is he gives off this cool, calculating, chilled feel, but when his father talks to him, he is cowed and afraid. Like, Primus Taconis is a bad man, and I bet he is. But not bad enough where another guy that I don't know who he is, just some wispy guy looking at the body of Taconis on a table somewhere else, of Octus on a table somewhere else, called Primus an idiot. Oh, I don't know who that is, and I want to know what's going on with that. I think we'll get there one day. And on top of that, I've moved Lady Aranessa Royce into notable allies, and I think that she's going to remain with the group more often, or she's going to break off and report. She's going to become a strong ally in this particular game, and she fought bravely on the raid, survived. She swore that House Royce may be down. But this quote: "Tonight, the House of Divinos and the House of Royce have fallen. Our allies turned against us. This city is no longer safe, but we are not without our own strengths. So understand me when I say this, Julian. There is a fight waiting for you, and it's waiting for me too. Shadows lengthen. They surround us all. The doors to Fairy have closed. Step by step, wound by wound, we are made less. I will not have it. They have counted on our acquiescence, our kindness, which they see as weakness, but no one in the wide world has counted on what we have all just seen here. If there are answers, we will find them. We will find them." That is a chilling, from someone who has been so, not passive, but not as aggressive as this. This will be a turning point in her character as she becomes more ruthless in finding solutions. And I'm excited for that. I'm excited for the road that that goes down, because that will be great cinema. That will be phenomenal cinema. In here we have I put relationships in history. Relationships in history for me, Hal and Bolaire have a very complicated friendship overall, where the Overture put a lot of strain on that. I think they might be going towards a new style of relationship, but for Bolaire, this friendship is everything, and for Hal, he is trying to protect his family, and that has put a little schism inside there, which I think is interesting, what Bolaire will do to try to get that trust and that friendship back. To a certain extent, Bolaire really hated Thiazi, and when he died, that put a spin on what was happening in his life. And I want to put another one in here when I know more about Thimble's connection to Bolaire as well. And then the one that really I kind of sat on is Julian and Valus. I'm going to put out a video on, like, oh, jeez. I'm going to put out a video sometime next week. It's a fluff video, and it talks about ships. And for anyone who doesn't know, when you ship someone, you're putting them into a relationship. And I'm going to do a video on that, of connections that I see purely from my, it's not a unique vantage point, but my non-mainstream vantage point of being a demisexual man who doesn't look at these games for the romance that happens inside of them, but to take an analytical eye about what I think is most likely to happen, which I think is actually what most of you come to my videos to look at, is not necessarily, you can find that anywhere else, but here we're bigger into analysis than we are anything else. If you can think of any other really strong relationships that deserve their own section, let me know. I would love to know more about this, and this is a section that I think needs to be filled out more than this, and I will continue to work on it and maybe give you an update a little bit later. The quickest way, by the way, to learn when my documents get updated, if you really enjoy these documents, is to jump into my Discord. It's free, and anyone who's inside there can look at the lore document. It's always pinned inside there, and if you want to make comments or you want to make suggestions on that, I have a Patreon for that. Magic items. This got moved around a little bit. We learned about the maskers specifically, and that is the type of magical artifact that Bolaire is a masker. They were created and refers to himself as one of the Panto, and the Panto for me are, I think, the masks created to put on the play where the masks could wear anyone and then kill a god. We also learned that humans created some magical staves that killed Tansul, and the elves created one arrow, which really gives me the vibes of the Black Arrow from The Hobbit, to kill Smaug. Vibes. Oh, it's Brennan. It's so much Lord of the Rings. Thank you, buddy. But that is that. And then a powerful magical item. I don't know what this thing does exactly, but it's the Loy Staff, and it allows her to spend charges and speak with metal, which is so cool. It's so cool. We didn't really find any more unidentified items specifically. There's a lot of intrigue and a lot of combat happening here. A lot of the things that were used by Taconis in the fight were reagents specifically and not items specifically. They're clues in and of themselves, but they are not necessarily items as they are. We didn't really learn anything else about Shapers. We didn't really learn anything else about the Shapers' War. Oh, I want to go back to Bolaire real quick. This is way out of order, but if we go and close these guys down, go into players, we go back into Bolaire. I put a new page on Bolaire and I forgot about it. Bolaire has an inner sanctum hidden inside the city, which is at the back of the archives. It's a secret entrance, and it goes down like 1.5, 2 stories into the ground, and it is just filled with books and curiosity and curios, and whatever group stays inside the city, because I think one of the groups is going to leave the city, and it's whoever's going to follow Aranessa. They're going to leave the city, and whoever stays inside the city, I think that this sanctum, this inner sanctum, is the base that they operate out of. I could be wrong. I could be way, way wrong, but I think that, and I'll do a real theory video. But this is a light one. I think that this will be a base of operations for whoever stays in the city, a hidden place deep in an archive. It feels very seeker to me, but I could be wrong. There's a lot of debate about who's going to be seekers and schemers, and I have a lot of people call me out on me switching them up. And I stand by what I say. I really do think that I've already said it once before. I think my seekers are my seekers and my schemers are my schemers. And I will be wrong when I'm wrong, and I will not be swayed until then. But yeah, that's a really cool area. With a giant's hand, like a stone giant's hand that says, "Where we have stood since the dawn of time, no one else will shape against." That, I think, is a direct quote to the original when the Shapers came into the world and destroyed the giants, which I think is, I love history. History's so cool. It's so rad. Yeah. Oh my goodness. We can shut that down. Whoop. We can shut that down. And then we just have some minor updates to the plot to free Thiazi, which was, I think I said it last time actually. We're pretty current on what's going on with this, so this is not necessarily a loose connection until we find Casimir and Sid with the soldiers table. I'm gonna work on a city's layout with Incarnate, because I would like to kind of know more about the comings and goings and how people cross, or where markets are and what things are inside where. I really need those visuals to help me out with this, and I think a lot of other people do too. And in that same regard, I'm going to start working on a private world map based loosely on distances that they say in days of travel, so that we can kind of get a better idea of where everyone is going. Because I think that would be a good update to have. Loose ends. Octus's vision. This one is a direct quote. I didn't change it up at all, but this is Octus saw flashing before your eyes. You see a night song, words, celestials, black wings, white wings, carriages of gleaming white liquid as blood moving out from the city. You see endless night storms. You see the Devalmar pass, carriages of the Royce family. You see the Taconis moving, the face of not your father, but could it be his father? Something else. Spirits of the dead. Armies of the Taconis. But the armies aren't marching in life. They are marching in death. This is a war being fought in the underworld. Your family is waging it. You saw it all unfolding. You see an Orcish warrior standing against the dead. You see an Orcish warrior standing against the dead. Somewhere past the Devalmar Pass, you see the symbol of the Barrow Guard. This is, along with Lady Aranessa, this is what that group is going to be doing. I don't know who that group is. I strongly believe that it is Octus, Julian, Valus, and Taisha. I strongly believe in that, because that orc that's inside there, I think that that's Aligar, as a Barrow Guard, as a guardian against an outpouring of dead into the realms of the world. It's so cool. And bird references, not so much. We did get a new word, which was, I think, copriated. I could be saying that wrong, but it's a word that really means the barrier between two things. and Brennan used that. He's always expanding our lexicon of knowledge, and I appreciate that about him. And that's really it. This was a really hard episode to watch, and I want to thank not my episode, but episode 4 was a really hard episode to watch, and it took me a long time to get through the combat because it was hard. It was real hard. I'm gonna have a theory video coming out soon. I'm going to have a mega update video where I will summarize or try to summarize the entirety of the overture so that when we come back in 2 weeks, we're all on the same page. Outside of that, again, if you like this video, like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to support the channel, there are many ways to do so. I've already talked about those. And it was just Thursday. And I had a great time making this video. But on top of that, I can't wait for the next time we play. And I know that next week we're going to have a one-shot of Dispatch. But in 2 weeks, we're going to get back to this, the Soldiers Table. I can't wait for that. So I can't wait for Thursday. And I hope you guys can't either. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.